I want to welcome our listeners to Zed's Not Dead podcast. It's a podcast for Gen Z by Gen Z. So, what we're going to do in this podcast is we're going to talk about entrepreneurship in the modern age. We're going to talk about financial responsibility, home ec classes, and practical skills that I think young kids could use. And on top of that, I want to talk about the art of living, because I think endlessly chasing a paycheck is ultimately not a lot of fun. We need to enjoy ourselves, right, Maxwell?
Absolutely.
All right, so I want to go ahead and introduce my guest today. I have someone who is a bi-coastal photographer, much like myself. He operates in both New York City, Los Angeles. He's done stuff in the mountains of Nepal as well. And on top of that, he also takes amazing landscape and portrait photographer photos in the Pacific Northwest, Oregon State. Yeah. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, my guest is Mr. Maxwell Picswell.
What's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic, man. What about you?
Doing fucking great, dude.
Hell
Got
yeah.
wine.
Oh, yeah. Courtesy of Maxwell, by the way. He brought me a nice bottle of red wine. We're drinking it out of mason jars for the people that can't see the video, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, I mean, I feel like wine should be enjoyed out of a mason jar.
Yeah, because I think at that point we're getting rustic enough. I'm going to put down my phone in a second.
Yeah.
For the, what was I going to say? For the listeners, what I'm doing right now is I'm setting up my Instagram to go live, and it's going to focus on other Maxwell and other Maxwells. What was I going to say? Oh, should we do each other?
I can do it back and forth, yeah.
Yeah, wait, we can do that. Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
no, that's good for now. What was I going to say? Live. Go
Podcast.
Podcast. Looking at those cameras. What was I going to say, Maxwell? So, I did want to say really quick, there's a lot of people out there. Like I said, I'm part of the older part of Gen Z, born in 1996. There's a lot of kids within that generation. Like, we obviously meet them at the photo sort of meetups.
Yep.
What they really want to do is they want to be their own boss. I totally relate to them. How would you recommend doing that at work? Because you're pretty good with the freelancing, working on sets. Maxwell has had it made. He's got a lot going on. You could even talk about you wanted to mention what show are you working on right now?
I'm working on a TV show called The Hunt.
Yes.
It's going to be on Amazon. It's Jordan Peele's new show. He's not directing it. He's executive producing it. And Al Pacino is going to be the main star. It's got a lot of really, really great cast. A lot of up-and-coming actors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was there through the entire pilot. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to be there for the whole show because it's a 10-month show.
Right.
People don't really realize how long a show takes to actually make. I mean, 12 episodes is a lot. That's at least 8 months worth of time.
Yeah, this is true. What was I going to say? Well, some people go after the long contracts. For example, I just had my contract end at JFK 13. It's a photo studio that shoots product photography for both.
Cool.
Yeah, it does Amazon's website and Zappos as well, so it's for product photography for clothes. So through those skills, I've learned to sort of translate that into me selling stuff on Depop and Poshmark.
Yeah.
So currently, that's been sort of one way to keep myself afloat after contract end. So what was I going to say? What would you say to anyone in Gen Z that is just getting into the working force for creative stuff, like working on film, like you were saying, also photography? Do you have any recommendations for them if they're on a contract and then it runs out?
Oh, well, to be honest, understand that your social capital is everything.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
So if you get on a job, make sure day 1, day 2, at least within the first week, you make a couple friends.
Yes.
Not only friends that you're on the same level as, but your bosses as well.
Yes.
Because they're the ones that, if your contract does expire, they're the ones who help put you on your next job. Especially friends. I mean, I currently work in the film industry, like you mentioned, and I started out actually being in the office because of a Facebook ad.
Oh, okay.
And because of my hard work there, it kind of just translated from job to job to job. And then it's actually a really hard transition. I'm sure anybody in the film industry will know, especially PAs. It's hard to go from the office to set. With any job, if you get trained in one position and you want to switch to another one, but in the same company, it's hard because everybody knows you as doing really great in that one job.
Do you think
they don't want to take a chance on you on that other one?
Right, I was going to say, so do you end up becoming, it's not typecasting yourself, but you're locking yourself into a role.
Typecasting is perfect, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, you're a great office PA. Yeah, no,
Right.
you should definitely stay there. No, I want to go to set. Yeah, but people on set are stupid.
Yeah, and you're so good at what you do. Why
Exactly.
wouldn't you?
Why would you switch? Yeah. But actually, yeah, my first job was on Shades of Blue, and I worked there for 3 days. I was a must hire, which means that excuse me, my direct boss couldn't fire me for at least for the first 3 days.
Wait, because you were a direct hire?
Because I was a direct hire, yeah.
That's how that works?
I made friends with the assistant director who was like, yeah, no, like, we're going to put him on for 3 days and see how he goes.
Gotta make sure you're in focus.
And I worked for 3 days, Wednesday to Friday. The first 3 days of, I guess, episode 2 or 3 of Shades of Blue.
Yeah.
With J-Lo and Ray Liotta. By the way, his eyes are so blue.
Wait, Ray Liotta from Don't Tell Me, Mobster Movie, Martin Scorsese, Goodfellas. Dude, isn't he also in GTA, I want to say Vice City?
Yeah. Yes, he is.
See, voice acting is interesting.
Voice acting is going completely off topic. Voice acting, not completely
No, continue with that,
yeah.
but like that's what I mean. It can translate, yeah.
Voice acting is incredible. I actually, when I lived in LA, I worked for a casting agency, and where I was taking some classes, literally right above us, they were shooting Angry Orange.
What?
Yeah. So that little like YouTube channel, not little, it got actually.
Oh, Angry Orange, yeah.
Angry Orange, that's what it is.
Or wait, Annoying Orange?
Annoying Orange, that's what it is.
Is that where they paste like that realistic
they
mouth over? They
paste the mouth over a regular orange.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then have it talk and be super annoying. I didn't really get into it at the time because it seemed very annoying.
Yeah.
And very kind of childish and very crude. But I was mentioning to my girlfriend the other day that like I was there when they were shooting that, and she was like, "That's such a tremendous experience." And I think me being a millennial, I passed the point of that being very interesting to me. But I think maybe you can attest to this. But was Gen Z really about that annoying orange?
It was, but actually, I'm glad you asked that because that's like, I think that whole era became it became very influential to young children on YouTube. So like a perfect example was the Angry Orange, but also. What was I going to say? Someone I'm starting to like now, but when PewDiePie first came out, I thought he was annoying as fuck. I was just like, what is this guy doing? And now I'm like, oh, this guy's cool as hell. It's weird. I don't know how that happened, but...
Well, PewDiePie is interesting because PewDiePie does his own thing. Like,
he does.
He's gotten successful enough that he kind of doesn't really have to care about the rules. He's gotten in trouble a bunch of times because of it.
Yeah.
And yet he still survives.
Well, it's because, like... What was I going to say? My friend Lauren just said Fred also was an annoying YouTuber. Yeah, perfect example.
I hated Fred.
I did too, and he got 2 Netflix movies, right?
My man, he cashed in and he made his money. But once again, as a millennial, when it finally got to the point of like Annoying Orange and Fred, I was like, no, get this.
Yeah.
I was really about the Andy Samberg era of SNL. Yeah. Because that's what really brought YouTube on the scene.
Bill Hader was amazing in those.
Yeah, perfectly. And also Chris Parnell.
Yes.
Yeah. Lazy Sunday. I mean, it's classic.
Yeah.
I mean, just the fact that Chris Parnell from SNL has been able to transition to all these other things and be an Archer and and be Jerry in Rick and Morty. Big shout out to him.
Yeah, fuck yeah. I'm trying to think of people that I'm into. What was I going to say? For the podcast, Maxwell, are the bars still going well?
Bars are...
Like, are we getting waveform for that?
I think it has a delay.
Yeah, not a problem.
I don't...
Podcast listeners.
I'm going to exit that.
Maxwell's turning down his girlfriend.
No, she can watch me on stream.
Hell yeah. One sec. I'm just going to make sure we're recording.
It's some business right now.
Oh, yeah. Maxwell... I was watching The Incredibles the other day.
Which one? 1 or 2?
1, because it's way better. And
I mean, yeah, it's classic.
We can debate that.
We'll talk about it, yeah.
Okay, after I take this. But I want you to go into monologue. And then he started monologuing. Here's the headphones.
All right, cool. So we're going to talk about The Incredibles.
So, which one do you like better, Maxwell?
I mean, the first one's classic.
Yes.
I don't know if they took 5 years to... I feel like it was a decade. I think it was a long time between movies, and the first one's iconic, but the second one the fact that they brought it back and it was still a success, I'm very happy about it.
That.
Because after a full decade, they definitely could have like messed the whole thing up.
York guy's waving. Wait, keep the headphones on for a second. We're switching. What's up, York? Just for you, we're gonna do something.
Gonna do something. What's up?
Adjust it as you need it.
Hey. No, we good. It's interesting. Maybe it's just because of the granted, you have a Samsung.
Yes.
And I have an iPhone.
Yes.
Do you notice on the screens there's a different tint?
Yeah, I see it.
It might just be because of whatever like brightness settings I have on. I like that you're cranking up a beer right now. It's a good idea. If you mind cranking open one for me as well. I have
that was the plan all along.
All right. Well, I got this for it's gonna make terrible noises on camera. But
for the listeners,
listeners,
other Maxwell is cracking open a beer, and I just want to say it feels very unnatural calling other people Maxwell. Like Maxwell was saying,
we were talking about this when I came in. And do you go by Maxwell or you go by Max?
I go by Max usually.
Yeah, so do I. So do I. And
podcast listeners, cheers to you and the live streamers. Hey,
I still got wine.
What's up, Alley Cat? What's up, Skies? The limit joined.
What is too long? That's the question.
What's up?
I don't know. Someone just wrote too long. What was I saying? Back to Incredibles. I'm just gonna move that.
So tell me, Maxwell, if you will. What do you like about the Incredibles? Because I love a lot of stuff about the Incredibles. So I'm just curious,
the Incredibles was great because not only did every character have, I mean, they were not unique powers.
Right.
They were all like super strength, invisibility, super speed, elasticity. Those are all things we've already heard of.
Yes.
However, they were able to craft them in a way that you didn't think about the people who made those popular. You didn't think about Superman. You didn't think about Plastic Man. You didn't think about the Flash. You were able to look at those characters and see them have their own powers and just visualize them as themselves.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. And I felt like something I saw in, what was it? You ever watch YouTube, like, analysis of movies? Like a review almost?
Sometimes, yeah.
There was
I watched, like, how it should have ended, if that counts.
Those are good. I saw one for, what was it? Oh, I saw one for The Incredibles where I really liked this about the first movie. They're like, everyone had some kind of clear motive. Like, so, for instance, Violet was dealing with being like an awkward teenager. Dash was just like a guy who's like, he's almost like a meathead, but like in a good way.
Yeah, no.
Did you know the actor?
It's a young meathead.
Yes. Did you know, listeners and Maxwell, did you know that, what's his face? The guy who plays Dash in The Incredibles is also in a band called Charlie Bliss.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I've seen them twice. I saw them once in Seattle at the Vera Project. I saw them with Pup, the band. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of them. P.U.P. No. They're really fucking good.
You know about that whole underground scene?
Pretty much,
I'm like,
yep.
See, like anybody from the underground who makes it to the surface, I'll hear about you 2 years after you made it to the surface. Like
that happens to me too.
My friends constantly make fun of me because things that are popular right now, I am like 2 weeks behind.
Oh, okay.
So like, my girlfriend does this, and like a bunch of my other friends, they all have like conversations about popular music and what's going on in pop culture. I know what's going on in pop culture, but when it comes to music, I'm just behind. And maybe just because I don't like to have things hyped for me.
Yeah, true.
And yeah, I do feel like the FOMO of like not being able to contribute to a conversation when people are like, oh my God, did you hear the new Ariana song that came out like a minute ago? Oh my God, it's incredible. I'm like, no, I'd rather listen to Chance. Like,
yes, I do like Chance the Rapper.
Yeah,
too.
like give me back some coloring book, you know.
You know who was really good is Joey Badass.
Joey Badass is great.
We're in Bed-Stuy right now, motherfucker. Yeah,
we are. Cheers to Bed-Stuy.
To Bed-Stuy. It's a really kick-ass neighborhood, actually.
Mm-hmm. Drinking break brought to you by Alcoholics.
Yes, brought to you by Alcoholics. Did you know that Famosa is imported from Guatemala?
Is that the beer that we're drinking right now?
Yeah.
It's got a giant black and gold cock on it.
Yeah, giant black and gold cock on it.
AKA a rooster, but
Pretty much, yeah.
it's more important to call it a cock.
Of course. You always got to call it a cock.
Yeah.
Speaking of cocks, can I ask you a question about social media?
Yes. I
Okay.
thought that was going in a completely different direction. I'm glad it went in a different direction.
Yes, exactly. So, listeners, like I had said, I really want this. If it's going to be the value of anyone, it's probably going to be Generation Z because they're being brought up in the YouTube kind of influential stuff like we were talking about.
Mhm.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about a website that I'm going to an event for. It's called minds.com. Have you ever heard of it?
I have not.
So it's an alternative social media platform that's committed to free speech, I guess. So
Mhm.
it's just going to let you post like pretty much whatever the fuck unless there's a really good reason to take it off. So it's like it's the opposite of something like Twitter or what was I going to say, Google. So it's going to be interesting, but I had a question for you on this. So with social media basically being a big part of what you do and how you market yourself and how people will hire you even.
Yeah.
I guess I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this. So I wanted to ask, what do you think are the risks of if you're going to like base your marketing off social media and then like something happens to you where someone's like basically shitting on you or smearing you or something like that?
Yeah,
Like,
that's a real topic.
The shadow ban thing. I was curious about that. So Maxwell got shadow banned from Instagram, right?
Yeah.
And it was for posting nudity, right?
Yeah, for people who don't know what shadow banning is, for people who pay attention to the rules and regulations on Instagram and Facebook, there's rules and regulations on Instagram where if you post something that is a little bit too raunchy or something that is not viewed by the public as safe for work, they may either delete the photo, they may disable your account, or they'll do something sneaky and make sure your hashtags don't work.
Really?
Which essentially means that the only people who can view your photo are people who follow you already.
Oh, so there's no way to branch out
So
at that
there's
point.
no way to branch out. There's no way to like get new followers unless someone shares your photo. It's not really the same. I mean, every single photo that I take, every single post that I put up is in the hope that I get at least one new follower.
Right.
Because everyone wants new content. They want new people. They want new insight. I'm all about constructive criticism.
Mm-hmm.
However, when you remove a post just because, maybe a nipple wasn't blurred or whatnot. I mean, we can go into the whole, like, free the nipple movement. We can go into the fact that, do you know who Eric Andre is?
Yes.
So Eric Andre, for those of you who don't know, has a late night special on Adult Swim.
Mm-hmm.
He has his own show, the Eric Andre Show. And he also with Hannibal Buress. And he's just crazy. He's insane. But he went to the Blue Lagoon in Iceland.
Yeah.
And he had someone take a picture of him completely naked.
Yeah.
And he put it up on Instagram. Completely naked. Like, you can see everything from his knees up to his head.
Wait, is it front or back?
Front. He
Okay.
didn't censor anything. And it was up for 4 days. Instagram never took it down. He eventually took it down because he just thought it was too much.
Did he gain too much attention from it?
I think so. But the fact is that I can't, or an artist can't post a picture of a woman's exposed nipple without being taken down.
Yeah.
But a celebrity, or even just a man in general, can post a picture of his junk.
Yeah.
And that's okay somehow. I mean, some guys have man boobs.
Right, yeah.
Like, what's the difference? I understand one is a reproductive organ. I understand that, like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like men sexualize things too much. We can go into this further on, but, like, as a photographer who does take that kind of stuff and does have to worry about Instagram censorship, you have to be able to separate the two. You have to be able to separate the difference between art and sexuality. And even in a girl's posing, I know that algorithms and people may not be able to tell the difference, but there's a difference between a girl holding her boobs together like this and, like, have one being out.
Yeah,
true. Artistically.
Yeah, true.
There's also a difference with a photographer just
even.
having, like, a boob out. Like, it has to be out for a reason.
Yes.
Whether it's artistically or not, it can't just be an air nipple.
Yeah.
That just doesn't make sense. You want things to be coherent. You want every picture to tell a story. People who look at my images now will hopefully find a story out of it, and maybe
Yeah.
I lead them along with a caption, or maybe I don't. But I hope that it gives you a feeling of that moment or what the girl's feeling. I never want someone to look at a picture of mine and feel like it's flat.
Yeah, well, on your website, you were even talking about adding an element to the photo that really makes it pop, and I think a lot of that's composition and a good understanding of the message you're trying to convey, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I play around with colors a lot.
Yes,
Yeah.
as do I. You probably know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I do. And, having programs like Lightroom, having programs like Photoshop really allow you to go into nitty-gritty of what makes a photo pop.
Yes.
And whether it's oversaturating a certain image or whether it's desaturating everything but like the color of her hair. I mean, don't classify me as a genius when it comes to Instagram's algorithm or art or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm a struggling artist like everyone else.
Absolutely.
But I've gotten to a point that I think every artist struggles with. I've gotten to a point where you like the work that you make and you want to feel like you don't care about what anybody else thinks. However, when it comes to likes, when it comes to engagement, you care. And it sucks. And one of my favorite comedians is Bo Burnham.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm trying to go live on your phone again.
Yeah, it went out.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
What? I'm trying to figure out. I don't know how to use iPhones for the listeners. I have an Android, like you were saying, so.
I wonder if that's saved. It might not have. Oh, well.
Oh, I hit save.
Oh, okay.
That was the only thing I figured out, and then I got totally
We're
lost.
back on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure if the last thing sent or not.
Oh,
But we're drinking wine out of mason jars.
pretty much, yeah. I think one of the cameras may have died.
It's all good.
Oh,
Is
no,
it
we're
called
good.
ASMR? Is that what it's called?
ASMR?
Yeah, the minute sounds that some people hate. Like
Oh. I don't. That's a very real phenomenon.
yeah, is it called ASMR?
I don't know.
I feel like it's called something.
You know what we're talking about? So tell the listeners, what is it? ASMR.
It's a I don't know if it's ASMR. It's essentially the minute sounds that some things can make. It's like someone whispering, like, and the sound that it takes for them to breathe. It's just really fucking annoying. Like the breathing, or the sound that it makes when I touch this. I hate it. It's the worst. Yeah, I mean, some people have made a living off of
Hey, what's Jesse saying?
making
Sorry.
that sound.
Oh, Pup got the new album. Yeah, winky face, Jesse. My apologies.
No worries at all. See, once again, you know about that underground shit,
Yeah.
and I don't. And my friends make literally, I'm planning a trip with my friends to Firefly, right now as we speak in June.
Okay.
Which you're more than welcome to join us. If
I
you'd
would
like
love to,
come.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could vlog it or some
Yeah,
shit.
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll absolutely do it.
Where's that at? I just want to make sure.
It's gonna be in Dover, Delaware.
Fuck yeah, let's do it.
It's gonna be. They used to have it on my birthday.
Really?
Which used to
Okay.
be like the reason why I went.
Yeah.
That's a birthday present to myself. But it is now gonna be like maybe the 17th, something like that.
May 17th?
June.
Oh, June 7th. Okay, yeah.
June 17th.
No
something
problem
like that. And yeah, we essentially camp out, work for a couple of days. It actually refunds the entire ticket, which is great. Have a great time. I pride myself in, and I'd say my friends can attest to this too. I pride myself in the fact that, like, if you blindfolded me and threw me out of like a helicopter with a parachute on, if I landed safely, I could probably make a friend with somebody there.
Yeah?
Yeah. I pride myself in being flexible enough with my friendliness and my ability to communicate with others. I'd be able to find a friend. So when it comes to like events or like festivals, whatever, my friends will essentially kick me out in order to go and like make friends with our neighbors.
Yeah.
And it's literally just a conversation of being like, hey, like, we're your next door neighbors. We have alcohol. You look like you have a table. Let's get some red Solo cups and let's do this up, you know?
Of course.
Let's see who's better at beer pong.
That's why hostels are so good to travel to.
Oh, absolutely. I've never been to a hostel, but I feel like, like, I've wanted to, but now that I start doing photography, everywhere I go, I have camera gear. Yeah. And I don't want to leave that in a hostel.
That's why I really like the Sony Alpha. Like, I used to have the A5100, but that one right there is called the Nex 5. Nex 5T, sorry, is the model. Yeah. Old. It only cost me $300 for that and the kit lens. Yeah. So it was like, it's fucking easy money, you know? So that was cool and all, but yeah, I don't know. I think the biggest issue with the Sonys is that the bodies are pretty good. They'll age well. But if you're going to buy into the body, then you have to buy into the lenses. And the lenses cost a fuck ton for the Sony Alpha line.
See, that's true. But I started out with... My first camera ever was a Canon T3i.
Yeah, that's... You know, it's not a bad model. A lot of people seem to like it, yeah.
I love that camera. I still have it. I mean, I lent it to my friends so we can start our own. Shout out to Great Good Productions. We have our own... and video production company, which is really cool.
Dude, fuck yeah. Wait, how can people find it?
We have a website. We have an Instagram that we need to work on. But we have a website. We actually just did a music video not so long ago. We were kind of constrained, as most creative people are. We are constrained by the artist, which I'm okay saying. She's a friend of mine, but... things were not conveyed as well as they could have. And everything that she wanted, we wanted to give her, but it wasn't feasible. Right. Shout out to anybody who wants to do a music video, if they're a singer, if they're an artist, if anything. Yeah. Make sure everything is written out, everything that you want beforehand. Make sure you go through the shot lists with whoever's doing your work. Make sure you have enough time to actually capture everything you want. Yeah. And when you think you have enough time budgeted out, at an hour.
So do you think instead of like somebody sitting on their phone and scrolling through Instagram or Snapchat for 2 hours, or I was going to say binging Netflix, do you think those could possibly be like unhealthy uses of time? Because I think there's definitely something to relaxing, but I don't know. I feel like at the end of the day, a big thing people need to keep in mind is that they should always, like you said, almost kind of over budget, whether it's your time or your money. You should be like, hey, I should pretend to have an expense so that if I don't have it, it's a surplus kind of.
That's actually a brilliant way of thinking.
That's kind of how I've looked at it. Do you have any like thoughts on that? I don't know.
For me, I should actually take that into account more.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been great at it recently. Yeah. Well, actually, nah, it's been pretty good recently, but still.
Well, I mean, you set this whole thing up, and it's an incredible experience being in the moment right now, but also seeing all the work that it takes to set this whole thing up.
Yeah, you know, weirdly enough, though, it doesn't feel like that much when you're into it, you know?
No, it really doesn't. And that's the beauty of passion.
Yes.
That, you know, I can edit a picture for 3 hours.
And it's fun.
And it doesn't seem like 3 hours. Like, I'll look at the clock and be like, oh, wait, it's been 3 hours.
I've been at this.
And I've literally just been trying to figure out this one color of blue. But that's the beauty of passion. That's one of the reasons why everybody wants to, you know, work in something that they're passionate about. It's what I consider the dream. Not only the American dream. The American dream is about making money. It's materialistic.
Sure.
Which I am a part of that. I want to make money
for
what I do.
Continue. I'm just checking on the Sony.
To make money and do what I love and not really consider it work is a tremendous experience. One that few people have. I mean, I work in the film industry. I know actors who do not enjoy acting. They make a ton of money, and they're now trapped by it. Some of them don't like the fame, and yet they're in it. And they can't escape because the money's great, and they've gotten used to it. So also never live above your means. But also save up enough money to enjoy life. Life is not spent working. shout out to the whole Unicorn Search Party crew. We went down to New Orleans.
I saw that photo shoot.
It was a great time. Literally the past maybe 12 photos on my page right now are just from the amazing women that I worked with when we went down there.
I really liked the ones from today where it was the woman with, was it the lanterns or the candles?
They were candles.
That was cool. What time did you shoot that at? I was looking at the lighting.
We to be honest, that was probably like 8 or 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know, the sun down there was taking a little while to set. We had just gotten back from dinner. We were all a couple beers in.
Yeah.
It was one of the last nights that we were down there, and I was like, I need to do an outside shoot with these.
Yeah.
It was just 2 kind of lantern candles sitting by the fireplace. It's one of the best things about working out of an Airbnb.
Yeah.
Is that like things that owners use as just decor, a photographer can use as a prop.
Absolutely.
And I kind of feel bad because we burnt out her candles. Things that like, you know,
they're like batteries. You'd have to purchase
exactly.
other ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a resource.
But
in a
like
way.
if I ever like rented out my home,
yeah.
like you have to have an idea about what kind of things, you know, you think might break.
Yeah.
Or you
true.
think might be gone by the time you get back. Yeah. And I don't think one of the things that she thought about was her candles.
No,
like
true. Dude, what was I going to say? So I took, on that topic, like I said, of resources in an Airbnb. Somebody in Airbnb is nice enough to lend out their home. And yeah, you are paying to do it, but they're providing you a service you're looking for, right?
Completely.
And the last Airbnb I was at was in Woodstock, New York, and it was fucking awesome. I'll show you.
Woodstock.
Oh yeah, I'll show you the photo I got there. It was a fucking badass place. But long story short, sometimes Airbnb owners will have stuff, and you should realize like let me give you a perfect example. There was like a pumpkin loaf there.
Mm-hmm.
It was really good. It was almost like banana bread but pumpkin. So it was amazing. I was like, sweet, I can have this because they left it for me. You know, it was specifically like, thanks for renting our place. Here you go. So I was like, cool. And then later, my amp was dying, like my portable amp that I have for my guitar. So she had 6 AA's in there. I took the 6 AA's. I needed them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was.
Yeah.
Cool. I feel like that's what they would want. Plus, the description for that one was like, she was so cool. She was kind of like somebody almost on Depop or Poshmark, like I was talking about earlier, where it's up to them how much effort they want to put in.
Yeah.
And she put the effort to say basically, use anything in the fridge. Like, here are the clean towels. Like,
yeah.
It was fucking awesome. I gave her 5 stars.
Yeah. My place is your place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely feel like she wasn't aware that her candle was going to be used. Mm-hmm. But essentially we went out into a neighborhood like street. Yeah. You know, Bianca wasn't wearing like tight lingerie or anything like that. It was more like a nightgown. But I would honestly prefer that it was kind of a nightgown because it kind of seems like not a sexy shoot, but more of like I'm in the street with candles and just kind of it fit the mood more that she was in a nightgown versus like tight lingerie.
Yeah.
Like tight lingerie is great for certain scenes, absolutely.
Sure.
As a photographer who does take those kind of photos.
Well, I was gonna say something about I'd mentioned the alternative social media sites earlier. So I don't know. I'm not getting paid or plugged by anyone, but what was I gonna say? I think Minds will be really good next, and then BitChute was an interesting one because the way their systems are worked are not based off servers where they have to be put into one sort of like warehouse or commercial like real estate center, something like that.
Go back to Minds because
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Here's basically the gist of it. Not only is it free speech, like they keep that as a priority there. Like they understand that creators will have ideas that seem outlandish or just, you know, when you're coming up with something to put out online,
mm-hmm.
some concepts, even as much as I hate them, like Fred or Annoying Orange,
Yep.
They made a certain amount of revenue, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So you have to be able to study those patterns and just know, you know, when to be cool with people.
Yeah.
I think actually the vast majority. I was telling Jesse, who I don't know if he's still on this. I saw him earlier though. My friend Jesse said something really cool where we were kind of talking together, and he was asking what traveling was like, and then I think I told him one of my favorite things about traveling that I learned is that no matter where you go, if you show a good amount of respect, like people will more often than not show it back.
Absolutely.
It's great. I love it.
Absolutely. It's you know, one of the big topics right now is Instagram models going to really distraught areas, and taking beautiful, beautiful shots.
Right.
Like showing up in a beautiful dress, makeup done, hair done, and you know the people in the background are props essentially, but they're living in poverty.
Yes.
And it's a weird experience to have the two of them, but you have to respect the area that you're in. You have to respect the people that you're hosted by, regardless of if you're staying in an Airbnb or not. The people who are around you, the people who surround where you're staying, are your neighbors. You need to respect them. When I was in, not saying all neighbors will be helpful to what you're trying to do, but when I in high school I went on a mission trip to Gabon, Africa.
Really?
We were in it was beautiful. It was amazing. I mean, we did the stereotypical like painted a church and like did some youth group stuff. I was raised Christian. I still hold some Christian values.
That's good though. That's good that you know that about yourself.
Yeah. No, I've come to the realization. I mean, I still go to church. My mom is my mom's Christian, so I stick around with it. And right now I'm in a place of questioning and discovering. I understand that I am 26 years old right now, which is even weird enough to say. But I'm 26 years old now, and you know, some of the lessons that are taught in the Bible are great, and I can still carry them with me.
I love that.
Some of them need some adaptation, which is even why when I was growing up, I was non-denominational. But that's beside the point. Anyway, we were in Oregon, or we were in Gabon, Africa, and the second to last night that we were there, we lived in a fortified house. It was a house, but there was a wall around it. We had some security guards, which we thought was a little bit overkill. Until the second to last night that we were there, and we were staying there, and a mob had gathered outside.
Okay.
And we're like knocking on the wall, and what ended up kind of stopping that whole kind of riot of them was the security guards outside firing their machine guns in the air.
Yeah.
To kind of show that they were serious and they were there to do a job.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter if it's their own people, they're there to protect. And it was a eye-opening experience for me, kind of not feeling like I was doing anything wrong. I'm not quite sure if they were there to loot or if they were there to because they were in opposition of what we were doing or what we were representing.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to see that kind of aggression and to hear gunshots in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And know that there are people there to protect me. I for the most part of my life, I've lived in New York, where I've never...
Right, yeah. You're a native. You're from the Upper West Side, right?
I'm rare. I'm from the Upper West Side, yeah.
For the listeners, there's this dichotomy of like how many native New Yorkers you know versus non-native New Yorkers. You know what? I'm at an interestingly high 50%.
Really?
How crazy
Half
is
the
that?
People. That
doesn't usually
really
happen.
Surprising.
Yeah, especially for look, dude, I'm from Idaho and I moved here last year. Like, I am whiter than shit, but you know, people are that cool with you. It's interesting.
It's gotten to a point where I don't ask people where they're from.
That's good. Neither do I.
Because I figure they're from out of state, and they're normally the ones to ask me like, hey, yeah, like where are you from? I'm like, oh no, I'm here.
Exactly. What's up, Anne Marie? And what's up, Jadilmia?
Sorry, we're both checking the Instagram lives that are going on. Yeah.
Well, what was I gonna say? You know what's funny? I think the Sony, the reason why that I think goes out once or twice, it's actually pretty good. Like I can get like 10 whole minutes and then switch it. This is like 20. So I'm like pulling this DJ act, but with the Sony, I think it's like overheating, but it like stores the video.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
See, I have not. My camera can do. I have the Sony A7R II.
Oh, okay.
And I know it can do video, and I've used it very, very infrequently for video.
Right.
But yeah, I've never thought about it overheating or like using too much of it. I mean, for Sony's, especially mirrorless, if I use burst mode too much,
Right.
it takes like a good like minute for it to catch up.
Yeah.
Like if I do burst mode I do a lot of work with smoke bombs.
Yeah.
So after you're clicking like 1,000 pictures a minute, and you want to look back at it, you have to wait a minute. And other people are like, yeah, no, look at this. Yeah. This. And I'm like, well, you got to wait a minute. My picture is probably going to be great. But we gotta wait a minute for it to happen. I love my Sony. Going back to what we were saying, I have a Sony A7R II. I started out with a Canon T3i, and the first real big boy lens that I got was my 50 1.2.
Yeah.
Which I love. That is my baby. That is my just
yes,
skin.
Anne-Marie, sorry.
The skin looks so small. It's so soft. It's smooth. It's gorgeous.
Does it have that if there's any way I could describe the new Sony models and why I like them, it is particularly the 6500 to the 7s now. Something feels very metal and almost like I'm holding an antique with them, but in a good way. It's like
in a good way.
Tried and true kind of technology with metal. Yeah, it feels right.
It feels right. The one thing I'll say about like the Sony lenses is that they're not as heavy. They're not as heavy as Canon. Canon and Nikon both produce very, very heavy cameras.
Yes.
They're tanks. They feel like tanks in comparison. Yeah, shout out to Nikon and Canon. And you know,
my stepdad actually raised me on Nikons. Like I said, he was a photographer in the 80s and 90s.
It's a cult following.
No, it is, but what was I going to say? Shout out to Dan, my stepdad.
Hey,
yeah,
shout out to Dan.
Shout out to Dan. Sorry, I had to do that.
No, you're good. Do you want these back, by the way?
Yeah, let's hear how it sounds.
It's an interesting.
Yeah, what was I going to say? What do you think the edited version of this will look like? I think it'll be kind of fucking badass. Like, it's going to kind of feel like Mad Max Fury Road.
I mean, I agree. It's
like shot, like, it has this weird sort of, what was I going to say, organicness to it.
Yeah, I've always thought about like being on a podcast and like talking about things, and I know I'm an extrovert already, so
same.
Just knowing about myself, I jump from topic to topic.
As do I.
And I've watched a couple podcasts. I mean, like I'm a big fan of Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yes.
And I feel like for their conversations, maybe it's because he talks about things that the guests are knowledgeable about, and maybe it's because he does his own research. But they stay on topic for a while.
Yeah, they do.
And I think a lot of it's just like them telling a story or like them talking about a certain topic. But like I'll hit a road, I can continue on that road, or I can drift into 3 different roads and just continue down that, and they'll branch into something else. But then at the core of it, I want to go back. I want to go back to that original topic that we were talking about because it interests me.
Wait, was it the social media thing?
It could have been. It could have also been the fact that I have a Sony and I have an adapter, which allows me to carry 2 or 3 Canon lenses.
Yeah, no, that's actually baller. Speaking of Canon, Anne-Marie just said Canon's for the win because she has one. She likes it. No. In regards to what you're saying though, I mean the lens adapting. Wait, we can flip these around if you want.
You want to flip around?
Yeah, hell yeah. Sorry, quirk of the podcast. Anne-Marie meet Max. And who am
What's
I?
that, Anne-Marie? Canon's for the win. See, I was a fan of Canon for a long time. And then don't be dropping my phone. I was a fan of Canons for a long time. And then just the ability to not have an arm workout every single time I use my camera. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But using Canon lenses, Sony's built and balanced to do this.
Yeah.
When you add a Canon lens, it does that.
Right.
So the lens essentially rests against your stomach. And it wasn't until I got the battery grip, the thing that allows me to add an extra battery and allows me to shoot vertical, did I actually find balance. But yeah, Canon lenses they're tanks, they're beasts. I feel like I could drop in it and it'd still be fine. Granted, that's after I now have a Sony. Because I was very protective over my T3i. What's up, Anne-Marie? Canons for the win, absolutely. I mean, I'm about Canon.
Still listening to this, just communicate with the audience.
Yeah, dude. I love Canon lenses. I love that Red 9 series. It's great. My 50, I have 3 lenses right now that I love. It's my 50 1.2. I'm just gonna turn this around that way. It's not hanging on random people. What's up? I'm live streaming on both. But let's see if I can just place that there. Nope, that's not a thing I can do at all.
We're golden.
But yeah, I have a Canon 50 1.2, Canon 24 1.2, and Canon 24 to 70 2.8. I love all of them. I mean, the reason why I got my Canon 2.8 is to essentially be able to shoot people full body, because you need to almost step into a whole other room in order to really capture one full body if you're doing 50 or if you're doing 1.2, or sorry, if you're doing 50 or if you're doing 24. The 24-70 just allows so much more range and focus. Unfortunately, it's 2.8, but it is what it is. So yeah. What if Amory is still here?
Oh yeah, you can share this setup.
Check that.
I think the
Yeah.
live viewers are gonna be fascinated by this view because it's gonna be totally different.
I'm just doing all the views all at once.
Exactly.
Emery, what lenses do you have? If you're still with us, I know she's still in the chat.
Yeah. No, Emery's badass. She had a few Canon lenses when I was there.
Yeah.
We should talk about her Redmond house, because I was gonna say the last topic I was gonna do before we could just ramble is keeping yourself healthy. Sorry, keeping yourself healthy and sane. And like Anne-Marie's really cool with that because she has this really badass place in Redmond. Anne-Marie, are you listening?
Yeah, she is. She has a 50mm standard pack.
Okay.
I don't know what standard pack means though. Is that the
kit lens? I think.
Is that the kit lens? What f-stop is that though?
Probably like 5.6 if I had to guess.
Lord.
Maybe like I have the problem with this one right now
Yeah.
for the Sigma. The Sigma's badass, great low light performance. The only issue with the Sigma lens is the whole like zooming thing that happens on cheap lenses where you start at 3.5 and then you end up at like 22.7.
No. It came with the lens. Yeah. No, I know that feeling. Get used to that camera, get used to that lens, and then eventually like allow yourself to try a 1.2, and it's gonna feel like butter. It's gonna feel like absolute butter. Like literally, skin is just gonna feel like smooth. You almost feel like you don't have to edit, even though you're absolutely gonna have to edit if you go all the way to 1.2 and like zoom in on someone's pimple. It's a type of f-stop where like if someone's face is slightly askew, you'll catch one eye that's super in focus. You can zoom in on that iris. It'd be beautiful. And the other ones can be blurry as all hell.
You put a layer over it to like brighten it.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
like a cartoon version of it.
I can't tell you how many edits. Like I've looked at pictures and like, wow, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna edit it, and then I zoom in and it's just like, oh no! If only I just had her face go from here to here. Oh, just that little difference. It's incredible. But yeah, I started with a kit lens as well. Shout out to kit lenses.
They
make us the photographers that we are today.
They are.
You shouldn't start out with a high-powered lens.
Agreed.
You need to focus on, you get good with what you have.
No, totally. The Wall Street meetup that I went to. So shout out to, I think Dove Pix was there. Susanna was there. And
I love Susanna.
Yeah, she's great. Alex Storm was there.
Yeah.
So we did this summer meetup where it was a night meetup. The only gear I had at that point was my Sony A5100.
Yeah. And
there was literally a guy at the photo meetup that's like, I've never heard of that model. And it was like some rich guy with disposable income. So he was just getting into it. But there's a difference between
Don't tell me he had a Hasselblad. Don't tell me he like... It's 5,000 just to drop on a camera.
No, but he had a portable flash, and I was just like,
of course he did.
This
of course he did.
Yeah, but no, it was like okay. So like you were saying, when you start out, I think a lot of this falls into starting your own business too. Yeah. When you are trying to start a business or you're trying to become self-sufficient, whether somebody else employs you, but that's okay. The important thing is just keeping track of like where your resources are going. Money's a big one, but time's also a very big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's something that it really does take experience to learn, I think. That's why
it's trial and error. That's
why I think real life's oftentimes going to be better than what you can learn in a classroom, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
weird.
Honestly, the best time that I've had learning has been going to a shoot and expecting a certain kind of weather, expecting a certain kind of lighting, and not having it at all, and still having to like feel like you're professional, still have to feel like you know what you're doing. I've gone to shoots thinking that we're gonna be outside, that expecting like I've booked studios where the natural light is amazing.
Yeah.
And I expect to go there and like create shadows and like I'll bring all my props just for that. And I'll get there and it'll be cloudy and there'll be no shadows. And I'll have to adjust. When we were in New Orleans, the sun was really, really bright.
Yeah.
It was really bright. And like I had to bring like my stuff like way up, like 1/8,000. Like what? Like what is that gonna do to my photo? And I had to adjust.
Yeah.
You know, the camera has limitations in terms of like what it can make look good.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to take a picture of something overexposed and just trust that you can change it in post.
Well, if you're shooting raw.
Yeah. But I mean, if you want to get good, if you want to shoot, if you want to like really understand the depth and the layers of your photo, try to shoot raw.
Yeah, absolutely.
It takes a lot more space, takes a lot more time, takes a lot of things. But
well, that's how I did. I'll have to show you the photography on my Poshmark because I did it all myself with like self timer, and I'll put my guitar case. My stand-in was my fucking guitar case.
Listen, you know, make it work. Make it work. We're currently using a wine bottle for this.
Yes.
And a mason jar for this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's beautiful. It's like, yeah.
Listen, whatever comes, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
If you need a tripod and you don't have money for a tripod, if you don't have a space for a tripod, you know, you prop that shit up on something. Yeah. I mean, I've used lighters. I've used pencils. I've used everything to prop up a camera if I'm going to do video or something like that. Absolutely. Yeah,
totally.
I mean, you just have to keep on going back and checking it to see if it hasn't slipped.
Yeah,
or anything of that nature. But yeah, no. It's at the bottom line, like you were talking about that rich kid who showed up with like expensive camera or whatever, and when he just started, honestly, it's not even about like the kind of equipment that you have.
Yeah, totally.
It's what you can do with it. I mean, some guys say that with small penises, but you know, it all works.
Exactly.
It all works too.
Well, like the compensation truck or something.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, oh, I'm gonna buy a giant ass lens.
Oh yeah,
or like know how to use it. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, if you start out with a kit lens, if you start out with an old camera, like, do your best with it. Learn the shit out of it.
As did I, yeah.
And eventually you'll start taking... Like, one of my first photos was of a match. Like, I was literally in the bathroom for maybe 2 hours with my camera, holding a match, trying to, like, focus in on it. And at the end of the day, I realized that, like, it didn't matter what settings I put on it. It didn't matter what. My camera just didn't have the ability to focus in on what I wanted it to.
Yeah.
However, the best picture that I got from that, I was able to edit it, I worked with it, and then I made that art. Art enough for me to appreciate it and be like, you know what? Like, even though I might not be able to, like, get the reds and the yellows and the oranges, like, all in perfect succession, you know, I felt like I did a good enough job in order to make that art. So yeah, start out with the basics, and then spend $4,000 on a camera.